350. Welcome to the 350 Wisconsin's June monthly meeting, which is an exciting meeting because it is our annual meeting. My name is Julia Isaacs. I guess I don't need my notes for that. Although it's not clear. I lead the monthly meeting team, and I will be trying to moderate things or keep the traffic flowing. And I'll be sharing moderating duties with Kelly Kearns, who probably greeted you as you came in, and we'll be bringing mics around during the Q&A. Christina Cook is the wizard behind the screen, doing all the Zoom and tech expertise. Susan Nossel and Marion Friedel are both on Zoom, and will be helping with monitoring the chat, and we do have the recording on. So let's go on to our next slide. This photo is actually taken right outside the meeting house, and some of us planted this a few weeks ago. It's a wild indigo bush, and we are trying to start a mostly native, we left the peonies in, mostly native pollinator-friendly garden right outside the door there. And we just planted it 2 weeks ago, so it'll be very exciting to see next year, and it's exciting to see it starting to grow this year. So let's take, oh, you want me to move? Let's take 2 deep breaths together. And a second in-breath. So with humility and respect, I want to acknowledge that the Matthiesen Friends Meeting House is on ancestral, sacred, and continuously inhabited Ho-Chunk land. I want to acknowledge the role the United States government and European settlers played in the forced removal of Ho-Chunk people, and I honor their legacy of resistance and resilience. We can continue to be inspired by the Indigenous people's vision of stewardship and seek to emulate their relationship with nature as sacred. I hope that helps ground you here in this place as it helps ground me. So we have an exciting monthly meeting / annual meeting today. There's a lot of main exciting items. We will be talking about what is 350 Wisconsin up to these days. And you can see that we have John Greenler, and I mistyped his title. He's president of the board. It's Emily Park, who's co-executive director, and Tanace Matthiesen, who's vice president of the board and facilitator of coordinating council. They will help answer this question of what are we up to. We will do some Q&A. I think it actually will be before 8 o'clock, more like 7:55, if my timing is right, that we will do our election of the coordinating council and the board. And we also will have some action updates for you. We will have the results from the election. And at the end, we don't have breakouts. We will just have breakouts for newcomers, and those of you in person can socialize, and those of you online after what may be a more than an hour meeting may be ready to relax at home. Let me see where I am. Next slide, that will tell me where I am. So I want to introduce the first of our speakers, John Greenler. Most of you know John, who served as our first executive director from 2021 to 2023, and continues to serve as president of the board, and has graciously agreed to run for that position again. He brings to this a long professional career focused on climate science, outreach, education, and advocacy for many years. He also brings a passion for racial, environmental, and climate justice. So John, what is 350 Wisconsin up to these days?
Indeed. Thank you, Julie. I really appreciate that introduction, and I very much appreciate all of the work that you have done to organize this meeting. So a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into getting all of these details together, along with a bunch of other folks, including Emily, as our one of our co-EDs, Stephanie Robinson, I think, is she online? Yeah, she's traveling, so she is with us, but via the internet has also been doing a tremendous amount of work. So yeah, I just want to just take a few minutes to talk about the organization. And I know most of you are really up on all of this, but I feel like we're really fortunate to have a vision and a mission. My voice is a little thin, so pardon me. A vision and a mission that I think is really durable. It's really been with us for a couple of years now, and I think it is hold really well. And I'm not going to read it, but there are a couple words that really stand out for me that I really appreciate. The concept of a beautiful planet and flourishing of all living beings. I think we can really celebrate what it is that is so important to us. And then when we get to our mission, that grassroots power where we start out with is so important in transformational progress. I think, going beyond incrementality and really looking for ways to make the fundamental changes that need to be made. And then clearly, of course, the environmental justice component, which is so important to us and is really raised up through our collective strategic planning. And we are going to solve this climate crisis. Once again, going along with that are our principles for change. Once again, you can read all this. The grassroots comes through, the climate justice component. We'll talk more about the collaboration, but ever more, the collaboration component is so important. We've really, the natural systems element, I think has really grown in the past year for us. We'll hear more about that. And then visionary thinking. I really appreciate the collective consideration that we all bring to this work. I think we go to the next slide. Yeah. So this is kind of extraordinary. This is an exciting opportunity to say, well, what are all the things that we have done in the past year that have really been highlights? And it's pretty darn extraordinary. And I just want to express my appreciation for all the people on all the teams, on all the projects, our extraordinary staff, including our two co-EDs who have really helped make so much happen. Our kind of jumping in as newbies with the Public Service Commission in terms of really doing the right thing around supporting net metering and trying to move towards a just process for rate considerations. That was a huge project that we had no experience in or very little, and have really, I think, become key players. The launching of the Regenerative Lands Relations Team, or the RLR, which is really a very strong component related to natural climate solutions, connects with what I was talking about before. The multi-site divest and defund D&D action that we pulled off, I think, was really also quite exceptional. Working with the university in terms of the West Campus planning, the Protect All the Water video, which I think has gotten well over 500,000 views at this point, and so many people who are in this room that were a part of that, folks like Alicia over there, and I think where's Diane? And Russ, who's not here, who really was behind the scenes on getting that out there. Just amazing. Are joining the CAC, the Climate Action Plan, to really be part of national efforts. The Wisconsin Climate Action Navigators, or WECAN. That's like a killer acronym in my mind, which is through the state's government. Just so exciting that is building. The Bad River film screenings. Once again, I want to thank everybody who was involved in some form or fashion with strategic planning, the grassroots power that we have for bringing up and focusing and defining what it is that we do, I think is elemental to the strength of our organization, with that collective ownership of our vision. And then clearly the zoning change work as well. So I probably spent more time on that than I should have, but I think it's a pretty extraordinary list. And I should be looking at the computer, and I'm not, at any rate. Okay, and I'm going to pass the mic over to Emily to talk about that strategic plan that I just briefly mentioned.
But let me just first say a few nice words about Emily. I think you guys know her, but I wrote something down. I do want to just say, and I forgot to welcome newcomers. I'm sorry. It is a chaotic evening, lots of things going on. So are there any newcomers in the room? Welcome, welcome. Any newcomers on Zoom, you want to type into chat and just say I'm a newcomer, because then folks who are on Zoom can welcome you. Okay, so Emily. Oh, and I was going to say we have time for Q&A at the end, but if you had burning questions about what John was asking, you can put that in the chat. Emily joined 350 Wisconsin as a volunteer in 2019. She joined the staff in 2021, and she became co-executive director in 2023, and she holds that position and continues to serve as communications director. She has a degree in Earth and Planetary Sciences and Environmental Studies from Washington University in St. Louis. And she's going to cover 2 or 3 important things about what we're up to.
Thank you. So good to see all of you here today. I'm gonna really quickly go through a little bit of what we did in our strategic planning session earlier this year. This was the first time in a couple of years that we had done a really extensive deep dive into strategic planning. A lot of things have changed in Wisconsin since the last time we did it. So we had over 30 people invited to participate in it. It included staff, leadership, so board and coordinating council members, and then a variety of volunteers. So we had a really inclusive, diverse group of people participating in the strategic planning. We had 5 key strategic focus areas. And then within each of those focus areas, we're working on identifying some specific goals. So building a stronger 350 Wisconsin. So what does that mean to make ourselves a better, stronger organization, a more welcoming community, more inclusive? Goals related to our climate justice work, fossil fuel resistance, climate solutions, and then looking at the upcoming elections. So obviously we've got an election in November, and then we're going to go right from that into another Supreme Court race for Wisconsin in 2025. So how does that tie in with our work with the state legislature and all of our regular work? We recognize that these 5 areas are not standalone. There's a lot of overlap between all of these. So it's an imperfect framework, but that's what we were working with. We were really lucky to be working with a great facilitator, James Hager, who helped us move the process along. We generated, I think, a couple hundred different suggestions for goals for these 5 different strategic focus areas. A lot of them were very similar or more or less the same. Some of them were goals that we're already pursuing. So what we are doing is concentrating on coming up with really concrete SMARTY goals for each of these 5 focus areas, and really looking at the 2024 and 2025 time period. I don't have enough time tonight to really go into the nitty gritty of what we did in strategic planning or to go through the detailed results, but we will be holding a special meeting sometime in the next few weeks to discuss the strategic planning process and the results. And we're also going to be putting together a report that anybody can read if they want. Next slide, please. I also wanted to talk a little bit about our coalition work. So our work on coalitions is, I think, a really central part to our success. Of course, I believe that 350 Wisconsin is powerful and mighty, but we can't do it all alone. So we are involved in coalitions all the way from the local level. So Dane County Environmental Justice Working Group, as an example. State level, so this is not an all-inclusive list, this is a select list. State level coalitions include the Wisconsin Climate Table, the Clean Economy Coalition of Wisconsin, and the Wisconsin Climate Action Navigators. On a regional level, we're involved in REAMP, the Midwest Building Decarbonization Coalition, and then the Loose Line 5 Coalition. And then on the national level, we're part of the 350 Network Council, People versus Fossil Fuels, Stop the Money Pipeline, and there are numerous other coalitions that we're part of that just couldn't fit them on the slide. I think the important thing to remember about our coalition work is it helps us take our capacity and our strengths in the grassroots organizing and really bring that into the picture when it is the most useful and the most strategic. So working with our partners who are policy experts, grass tops leaders, and then we are coming in from the grassroots and really building a stronger movement. I think the important thing about these coalitions is they all fill their own special niche. So some of these are very progressive climate-focused coalitions. Some of them are a little bit more wide-ranging. Some of them have membership from people of different interests, labor groups, other, community-based groups. Some of them work a little bit more across the political aisle. So being involved in these coalitions is what really keeps us up to date on what's happening and where our power is most useful. And increasingly, we are becoming a very, very sought after voice in these coalitions after building on many, many years of work. For example, Phyllis's amazing work in line 5. That's a so the coalition work includes focusing on climate solutions. We also do a lot of fossil fuel resistance work through the coalitions, and then also skill building and tactics, learning from other folks what has worked, sharing our learnings, and really building a stronger climate movement as a whole. So I'm going to pivot over to our 501c4, which is 350 Wisconsin Action. So 350 Wisconsin Action is our sister organization that engages in electoral and advocacy work. So when I'm wearing this shirt that says 350 Wisconsin, I cannot say, I recommend you vote for XYZ. But as 350 Wisconsin Action, we can. So I think we all agree that we need to have climate champions in as many elected positions as possible. And that's not going to happen unless we are getting out there, turning out the vote, getting as many people in Wisconsin to vote. I think you're all aware that this year's election is going to come down to a handful of votes. Also, we now have the critical opportunity to really flip the state assembly and possibly the state senate. So a lot of the things that we've been really struggling to get accomplished will be so much more straightforward if we had a balanced and fair and representative state legislature. So those are some of the things we're going to be focusing on for the rest of the year. We are currently hiring for political organizers, and there will be also tons and tons and tons of volunteer opportunities for introverts, extroverts, people who like to stay home, people who don't want to stay home, postcard writing, deep canvassing, regular door knocking, leafleting and tabling, phone banking, helping us with data entry, pretty much anything you can think of. Nikki has a job for you. Yes. Oh, yes, that's a good. If you are planning to volunteer with us on the 350 Wisconsin Action side, you get a free t-shirt out there. Also, everybody can take a free sticker if they want. While we are going to be looking at races all over the ballot, our key areas of focus are particularly the competitive state assembly and Senate district races around the state, Congressional District 3, which is going to come down to a razor-thin margin. One thing of note, if you're part of the Regenerative Land Relations team, you know that Representative Derek Van Orden is the only person from Wisconsin who is on either the Senate or House Ag committees. So he is the one speaking for agriculture in Wisconsin, and we don't like that. Of course, we've got a Senate race and the presidential race. And then in August, there is a key ballot initiative coming before the state that would really impact whether critical Inflation Reduction Act funds can be deployed in Wisconsin to support clean energy transitions. If this all sounds super interesting to you and you want to go that extra step, please consider joining the political action team. That team is going to help us work through our strategy a little bit, help guide our messaging, and also will be the team that's working on the endorsement process. Next slide, please. Oh, and this is Tanace.
Yes, and I wanted to say a few words about Tanace, because preparing for this, I learned that you spent your career working a number of different capacities for the state of Wisconsin, including as a budget analyst for the DNR. And for us, Tanace has two very important jobs. She's the board vice president, and in that role, she serves as facilitator for what we call the coordinating council. And in that role, she'll introduce us to some of the campaign teams who are represented on the coordinating council.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm very impressed that both John and Emily could not read what they were saying. They could just speak extemporaneously, and I cannot. So bear with me, apologize. I'm just going to read, but they're not real long, so it won't take too long. The first team, and many of you know this, but it's always good to sort of think about the teams that we have and think about, remember the breadth of our work at 350 Wisconsin. So the Art Collective supports teams, campaigns, and initiatives across 350 Wisconsin by making banners and props and by creating and staging performance pieces to attract, educate, and engage the public in our work. A current example of their work is in support of our sister organization, 350 Wisconsin Action, with our satirical street theater and dance piece highlighting the stark reality of the fact that climate is on the ballot this November. I hope many of you were able to participate or at least see that event. So Russ Bennett and Diane Burkarsh co-lead the Art Collective, and they're both going to be on the ballot for the coordinating council. They co-represent the Art Collective on the CC. The Climate Justice Team, I don't think so. I don't think so. Are you Christine, are you spotlighting people? Oh yeah, Diane is. Wave. Okay, I'll do that. How about if I have her wave or them wave? Okay. The Climate Justice Team promotes thinking about climate justice inside our organization and in the wider community. It educates and holds 350 Wisconsin accountable for considering the justice impacts of climate change in all of 350 Wisconsin's work. The Climate Justice Team builds relationships with leadership of Matthiesen grassroots organizations led by people of color, attends and volunteers for events when invited, and uses those connections to build collaborative efforts. Marian Friedel, who is right there on the screen, leads the Climate Justice Team. She has represented the team on the CC, but a new member, Jean Howitt, is running for election to the CC. And is that Jean? Hi, Jean. Okay, and then we have the Community Climate Solutions Team. The purpose of the CCST is to help our region's governments and institutions set and achieve just, equitable climate goals as fast as possible, and works to increase our region's climate awareness, engagement, and action. The CCST has done a lot of work. I'm not going to give any examples right now in the interest of time, but I did want to mention they also have 5 working groups. 3 of them are geographically based. So Fitchburg, Madison, and Middleton. I know some of you here are involved in some of those. They also have a climate action mapping project working group and an energy equity working group. And then as mentioned, we have our regenerative land relations team. I think that's our newest team, right? The RLR, as we refer to them, hi, Susan. The RLR team believes in restoring our relationships to the lands and waters around us to be something mutually beneficial rather than viewing them as resources to be used and exploited. They use education, outreach, and advocacy to protect and restore local ecosystems, allowing them to retain and sequester carbon dioxide. For example, they recently hosted documentaries lauding the benefits of regenerative agriculture and sent postcards to state representatives advocating for climate-friendly policies to include in the upcoming Farm Bill. Kathleen Fitzgibbon, who is here in the room, and Sharon Barber, who I hope is on screen, or on Zoom, I should say. Is she there? Yay! Co-lead the RLR team, and they're both running to be co-representatives of that team on the CC. State policy team is our next one. They work to promote and advocate for policies at the state level and tangentially at the local and federal levels that combat climate change and enhance conservation efforts. Many projects within the state policy team are focused on monitoring the Public Service Commission's docket for clean energy projects in the state and coordinating efforts to support those projects. In addition, the state policy team has been known to send representatives to actively encourage lawmakers and policymakers to support said projects or promote others. Alex Peterson and Jan Niewald co-lead the state policy team, and a member of that team, Chris Unterberger, is running for re-election to represent them on the coordinating council. And finally, and these are our campaign teams, I should mention. These don't include our operations teams. So these are the 6 campaign teams that we have. They're run jointly. The TST is run jointly between 350 Wisconsin and Sierra Club Wisconsin chapter. Their purpose is to organize around the resistance to fossil fuel use and dependency, currently focusing on Line 5 in northern Wisconsin. At the moment, they're diligently preparing to mobilize our networks to participate in the U.S. Army Corps public input opportunities in response to Enbridge's Line 5 reroute project. And a number of our members are up there in Ashland now because there's a public hearing tomorrow. And so they want to, and some are going up tomorrow on a bus. I think you could probably still get in on that if it's not full, that the Sierra Club and we organized to go up to northern Wisconsin, Ashland, right? Yeah, okay. So you could still get in on it. Thank you. So Brittany Reamer, one of our staff, is currently leading the tar sands team, and she's looking for a co-lead since the previous co-lead left the team, Alex Sketch. And so Brittany will represent the tar sands team until or maybe even after a co-lead is found. I'm not sure if we've resolved that issue or not, but and then we also have the 3 operations teams, the communications action team, fundraising team, and the monthly meeting team. So you'll see those names of the representatives of those teams to be on the coordinating council, also on the ballot. So the communication actions team is Emily. The rep on the CC is Emily. The fundraising team rep on the CC is Stephanie Robinson. And the monthly meeting team rep is Kelly Kearns. And that's it for me. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Tanace. And thank you to all the volunteers who are a team lead, a co-team lead, a representative of the coordinating council, whoever your team splits up all that leadership. Thank you to all those leaders. So we've told you a lot. Some of it's review, some of it you may not have known before. And I wanted to know if this is a time for questions. We have Emily, Tanace, and John here, and I'll take questions from the floor. I'll take questions on Zoom. Marion will help with that. Is there anybody from the floor who wants to raise a question? Marion, do you have a question from the chat?
Not yet, not at this time.
Oh, let's see. I should have had a question in my hip pocket. Kelly, you're going to do the microphone running. Thank you. You have this thing up to.
Thank you. So many of you know me I'm with a project called Building Unity. We're trying to bring us together for a united movement that embraces sustainability, peace, justice for all, and pro-democracy movements. And one of the latest projects that we're interested in is monthly gatherings that bring us all together. And I've got some little flyers about that. The next one will be at James Reeb. And it's a place where groups that are for sustainability or democracy can share their information, their campaigns, what they're doing, and meet other people that are interested in this kind of stuff. My question is that something that 350 might consider partnering with us in creating monthly gatherings at places like this, just for socializing and such. Thank you.
And that was Timothy Corden that asked that.
So Tim, Tim and I have talked about this before. The answer is if capacity allows. I think it's building unity is something I think everybody in this room is really interested in. It's just as we get closer to the election, the busier we're going to get. So I guess it depends on the dates. But yeah, reach out to me.
So he said it's on the 22nd of the month, regardless of what day of the week that falls on. The next one's at James Reeb Unitarian Universalist Congregation in the east side of Madison.
What time what time and is it a potluck?
Thank you. I'm sorry. It's always a potluck. There'll always be a chance for people to table if they want, or to get up and make some announcements. And then it's mostly a chance for us to get to know each other better as a more united movement, share food. They last about an hour and a half to 2 hours. And yeah, it's a really sweet community thing. We've done them in the past under the name of Sustainable Saturday Nights. Now we're doing it on the 22nd so that it doesn't favor any particular day of the week. It'll change the day of the week, but it'll always be on the 22nd. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question from the chat.
Yeah, but I
Bill DeReed, sorry.
What?
Go ahead, Marion, read the question from the chat.
Well, one thing is Rachel Robillard has written this, say that Tanace didn't mention her as co-lead of CCST, and she is running for the council.
Thank you. Yes.
Great. And yeah, so Tracy asks, you mentioned, oh, I'm sorry. CD3 was mentioned in our political action. What about CD1?
So the first congressional district, is there somebody can speak to from political action?
Thank you. So Congressional District 3 is our primary focus of the U.S. House districts, but that's not to say that we're not going to be active in other ones. Yeah, I think it's going to depend on where our political organizers are based, where we can generate volunteer capacity. But yeah, so CD3 will be our first priority, and then everything else will sort of see what opportunities come up.
And translating for a CD
Sorry,
means
Congressional District. So Congressional District 3 is a lot of central Wisconsin. So Stevens Point, Eau Claire, La Crosse, big swath through the middle of the state.
let's get another question from the Zoom world, Marion.
Sure. Will the regenerative land team focus, what will they focus on in the coming year?
Well, shouldn't we have someone from the regenerative land team speak to that? Yes.
Okay. Hi, this is Kathleen from the Regenerative Land Relations team. Yes, we are still focusing some on our priorities for the upcoming year. Obviously, there's a lot of election stuff going on. We were going to focus a lot on the farm bill, but our sources tell us that's probably not going to pass until 2025. So we're refocusing some of that energy. If you have ideas that you definitely would like to see included in the team, please let us know. We're definitely open to more initiatives. It is, again, kind of a capacity question. So if you're interested, let us know. We'll probably work something out.
And again, I guess I'm really into, so can you just regenerative land relations, just imagine I didn't know what that meant.
Okay. Fair enough, I suppose. It originally came out of a regenerative agriculture group. So a lot of it is from there. We don't just want to be sustainable. We want to actually make the ecosystems better. We want to regenerate them. And the land is in there because we want to focus very solidly on the land and earth around us, and waters as well, of course. And then relations, because we want to actually be relating to these things and not just exploiting them, but having a relationship with them.
I'm really glad I asked that question. That was a great answer. Anyone else in the room who has a question? Oh, yes, Kermit.
I think I've turned this into a question. One of the more gobsmacking news headlines that hit me, which just underscored the criticality of this year's elections, particularly at the presidential level, was a certain Republican presidential candidate who invited a few of his best fossil fuel friends down to Mar-a-Lago and said, "Get me $1 billion and I'll get you everything you want," to paraphrase loosely. Can you, somebody maybe preview or address, like, what are we doing to take that threat, that quantum leap of energy and engagement to see something better happen than that president?
We're hiring political organizers. Because right now it's we're running short on staff. So once we have those people in place, we're gonna hit the ground running.
So Stephanie's not here, so I'm gonna jump in and part in her capacity. A lot of the work that's being done right now is behind the scenes to raise the funds so that when things get really heated and we can be most impactful, we have the resources to do that. To be honest with you, it's a very dynamic space to be working in terms of doing development. And things tend to come in at the last minute. And Stephanie has actually been working really hard to make sure that we've got some of that base funding and support so that we can be really ready to move, when things get particularly hot. So it's not obvious, but it makes a huge difference. We had some significant success, in the past elections, and it looks like we're really building a lot more momentum. But it's a very dynamic situation, and we'll very much be on our toes as things develop, both in terms of what resources we have and how the elections move. So stay tuned. There'll be a lot more coming clearly in the not too distant future. I think as the song of the heat is on, coming shortly. Does that sound appropriate, Emily?
Yes.
You have a follow-up, Kermit?
And what can we, dedicated, concerned 350 members, do to best support and encourage and mobilize? Make a pitch.
So as your volunteer coordinator, I would highly, highly encourage you all to volunteer, especially when it comes to the elections. We have lots of different things planned, primarily things that are focused on ways to actually move the needle. So different things that we're focusing on are things like relational organizing, talking with your networks to make sure that they have plans to vote. We also have been diving into what it's going to look like to do deep canvassing. And what deep canvassing looks like is real connection and conversation at the door that actively has been proven scientifically to change minds. Because we're not just saying, hey, are you here to vote? We're saying, hey, share a personal story with me and I'll share one with you. And let's talk about how your vote is going to matter in relation to that personal account. And so we have lots of ways that we are planning on, in addition to that, we're doing postcard writing, phone banking, regular door knocking, you name it. We're going to leave it all out on the field. So I highly encourage you to get involved. Like Emily mentioned, you also get a free t-shirt. So that's pretty cool. So come volunteer. There's lots of different opportunities.
There we go. I'm just going to segue briefly on what Nikki said. One of the things that's really important is that we highly value volunteer time. And there's, once again, a lot of behind the scenes work for us to really know from a quantitative aspect where we can be most impactful. So usually, for example, we don't canvass, we don't knock on doors in Madison. We go from, where the numbers tell us we can have the biggest impact to really, pull the levers that we're going to be best at. So as volunteers, know that, that you're going to be well used and have a good experience as well, which is also important.
Marion, do you want to, it looks like there's a follow-up question from Karen Greenler.
Well, I wasn't looking at that one. Do you want to read that one? I'm looking at one from.
I'll read that one because it seems to be so connected. Who do we contact if we want to be part of a particular political campaign event? For me, it would be the postcard campaign, and that was Karen and me. And I want to be sure I'm on the list. Thanks.
That would be me. If you are on Zoom, my name is Nikki Darga, and my email address is my name. So it is, someone can put it in the chat, but it's get in contact with me. I will make sure that you are on the correct list. I'm building lists of volunteers right now for all of these different things. So contact me and I'll get you where you need to be.
Okay, Marion, now you can pick the next question.
Yes, this is from Elliot Rosson, who is from Third Act in Illinois and has partnered with 350 Wisconsin and is part of Stop the Money Pipeline. And they're wondering if you are doing anything around the Republican National Convention in July. Milwaukee is making available a parade and speaker podium fairly close to this convention center, RNC convention. We've been talking with a few states about coordinated action.
Okay, Emily, they're all pointing at each other.
Oh, no, I was gesturing for the mic. The answer to that is probably not. Just the security makes it challenging. A lot of our members are based in Matthiesen, and also to plan an action like that, you need to get started pretty early, and it's coming up fast. Also, just from a best use of our energy, is anyone at the Republican National Convention going to be swayed by us?
I think we have time for one more question. Oh. I can't see who's pointing at who. Oh, no, more on that question, Diane.
Okay. Is this on? Yeah. So unofficially, there might be some action at the Republican National Convention from the Art Collective of 350 Wisconsin. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, you could contact me or Russ Bennett, and someone could put maybe the emails in the chat. It's not necessary. This is more of a media kind of thing, but we have some really good ideas. And I think some of us are going to go to Milwaukee. So that's all I'll say for now.
Okay, I think we have time for one more question, Marion.
Okay. Are there any participants tonight from the Middleton area who would like to get involved in encouraging the city of Middleton and school district to take more aggressive climate mitigation action? Oh, if so, contact Kevin at buyinmountains@gmail.com. I have one other one. Who do we contact if we want to be part of oh, yeah, that was already done. Okay.
I think that's great. I don't know if anyone from the Middleton area, we do have a Middleton area working group, and I mean, I think you can always email Nikki if you're trying to get the email address of and you don't know who else to email.
Okay.
But Kermit. Oh. Okay, so Kevin is the lead so he knows all about the Middleton Working Area Group. But if there are people in Middleton, if there are people in the Middleton who are on Zoom, please, contact Kevin. And if you're in the room, I can get you his email address. So you come up to me after the meeting.
Thank you.
Although please remember that if you are a new volunteer, you need to start with Nikki for onboarding.
Okay. So I think we're ready to move on to our own elections. So I think we're going to start with John is going to explain what the board does and the coordinating council does, and then I'll explain how you vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Julia. Yeah, just a brief kind of higher level description of the board and the coordinating council. I'll say there's a little bit of overlap between the two. There's a lot of connections and interaction between the two, and I think that's what's really important. And also clearly all the volunteers and the staff. But the board, some of these things that you're seeing here in this bulleted list are really defined by our being a 501c3 nonprofit with the, kind of the privileges that come with that from the government. So financial and legal oversight is a responsibility that the board has, and that's defined for us as a registered nonprofit. That's pretty significant. I mean, the budget is worked up collectively. A huge amount of work has been going on behind the scenes right now for our upcoming budget, especially by Emily and Stephanie, and we actually have, the board has a whole finance committee. And then strategic focus areas and overall mission. As I was mentioning earlier, as a grassroots organization, the full breadth and detailing of that does come from our grassroots capacity, but the board is really responsible for making sure that we have that mission and vision and that we're really holding to it. And that if indeed that needs to be updated, that the board is responsible for making sure that that happens. We also are officially the supervisors for our co-executive directors. I'll say that we are so fortunate to have executive directors who are rock stars. So that's really not a lot of work, and it's mainly just a joy. Raising our profile in the community and climate action spaces. We really are, we're one of the facets of being a spokesperson for the organization. And then, as I've talked about before, there's a lot of behind the scenes work doing the development and fundraising work as well to make sure that the organization is getting that support. And that is very complemented and very much in parallel with, is the word I think I would use for the coordinating council, which is really where a lot of the collaboration and communication takes place between the teams. The synergism, which is so much of the strength of our organization between those teams, takes place significantly in the coordinating council. And strategizing around what are the tactics that we want to use to meet our strategic priorities. It's a crazy dynamic time out there, and the coordinating council keeps really busy thinking about how to be responsive and how to be nimble. Community engagement is also another big component of that. And finally, coordination between the individual team staff and that broad 350 Wisconsin community is really a key aspect of the coordinating council. It's a really busy crew and a lot of great people who step up to do that work.
What's the next slide look like? Okay. So I think, so there's two things I'm going to do. One is I'm going to tell you how to go on Google and vote, but I just would like to have the people who are running, who are on the board first. First, to the board officers, but the 4 board officers, please stand up. John, President, Tanace, Vice President, Bill, Treasurer, and Kermit, Secretary. They're running unopposed, but I want you to see who they are when you decide whether to vote yes or no. Thank you. Then we're going to have, there are at-large board members, and there are 5 people running. And when you get your ballot, oh, wait a minute. Oh, is this on the slides? Oh, yes. Well, there they are. I think the slides changed in the last hour. Okay, so then we have 5 people who are candidates for the board of directors at large who will join the officers to form the board. And you can read about those 5 people. It's Kurt Kimber, Laura Scandura, Nada Elmakashfi, sorry, Nada, Peter Anderson, and Stephanie Salgado. When you get your ballot, what you do is you vote for up to 3 people. So you can vote for 0, 1, 2, or 3. And in the first round of voting. And then people who get more than 50% of the votes, those people will be elected, and then we'll do a second round. That may sound complicated, but you're very clear on your ballot. You have yes, no for the officers, and then you have vote for up to 3 people for these candidates. And then the third part of your ballot, let me see the thirds. Oh, wait a minute. Are those people in the room? I see Peter. Stand up, Peter, please. And Nada's on screen. And so Stephanie will try to spotlight her. And I don't know who else is on screen. Raise your hand if you're a candidate on screen. Stephanie's right here. Great. It's not working for you to spotlight them because the screen's up, I guess. Hang on. I'd like to see their faces. Oh, they don't have video on. Okay. Well, they are here. Oh, well, Stephanie was our speaker a month ago. And anyways, hopefully you've gotten to know them. And then we have, there's Stephanie. Hi, Stephanie. Then we have the coordinating council members who also will be, they have been selected by their team. So there's already been sort of a selection process. So for them, it's a yes, no vote. Do you have another slide? Oh, there's Kurt from Minnesota. Patience. Hi, Laura. Okay. So now I am just going to tell you that for the coordinating council, in some cases like Diane and Russ are, code. So there's more names and things, but come up here if you're running for coordinating council, just so people can see you. It'll be easier. So Kelly representing the monthly meeting team, Emily, the communications action team, Kathleen, the regenerative land relations team, Diane, the art collective, and who do you have online that you want to spotlight? If you're online and you're running for coordinating council, please raise your hand, your virtual hand, which will make it much easier for, there's Brittany, who's both on staff, but also representing the Tar Sands team. Although if a volunteer wants to join her as co-lead, she'd be delighted. And there's Sharon, and there's Rachel. Oh, Sharon is on the regenerative land relations team. And Rachel on the community climate solutions team, and Jean on the climate justice team. Did I say Sharon on the regenerative land relations team? Okay, state policy would be Chris. And we saw Jean for climate justice. Yes, there she is. Okay, so now now to vote. And I said that we couldn't assume that everybody had a smartphone with them, but if you have a smartphone with you, you hold it up to the QR code and it will get you to where you vote. If you don't have a smartphone so even people in the room should be able to do this. The other way to do it is Susan's going to drop that link, tinyurl.com, 350 Wisconsin 24 vote 1 into the chat, and you can do it that way. And if you would like to do it the old-fashioned way, Tom has paper ballots. Just raise your hand and he'll give you one.
Julia, there's a question in the chat from Jean.
Oh, and I forgot to say, to be eligible to vote, you should have donated to us in the time period we've told you in lots of things. We can't go back because you'll use it. Or have attended 3 meetings in the last 12 months. Can a board candidate respond to questions prior to voting? We weren't planning to do that. We, maybe next year we'll have questions and more things like that. We have not built that into our agenda. You can't get on? I think it's unsecured. No, that's a good question. I probably know it, but I think it's unsecured. I mean, I used to know it, but now it's unsecured. So I'm going to be quiet so that you can all figure out how to vote. If you're having troubles voting, oh, I should better vote. If you're having troubles voting, let some young, smart person help you.
I put the link in the chat too for the vote, the first round of voting.
So we'll give you just a little more time and then we will move on. Okay, you got about 2 more minutes.
There's a question in the chat. If somebody who's running the election, please could address the question. Thank you. I think you're on mute, Julia, so we can't hear you.
So you don't have to vote, just to verify, if you don't want to vote someone in for the board at large over concerns or views are not in alignment with the organization, the best thing is not to vote for them. So you don't have to vote for anybody. Please vote yes or no for one set of people and just vote for as many of the at-large members as you feel comfortable with. Don't, up to 3, up to 3. Well, there'll be, yeah, just up to 3. Yes. So for the at-large board members, after we see how many, we will have a second round. And so so there will be a chance to vote for them a second time because that's what our bylaws do. It will be the same type of voting, but let's finish the first round first.
Could people please raise their hand if you're still voting? That includes the online people, if you could raise your hand electronically.
It looks like some people are still voting. So, are you still voting?
Carol, Phyllis, you still voting? Okay.
So let's say we'll.
How we doing online, Christina? So, okay, so we're going to be closing the election for the first round here. And we're going to go on to doing some of our action updates. And so if we could have the next slide. And we've got 4 different announcements here for our action updates. The first one is Brittany. And Brittany is our fossil fuel coordinator, organizer, and she's going to mention something about line 5.
Thanks, Kelly. Hi, everyone. I am Brittany, as Kelly said. I'm up in Ashland right now, y'all, because on May 20th, despite separate requests by 350 Wisconsin and some other climate and environmental organizations and the Bad River Band to delay, the Army Corps has actually released their draft environmental assessment on Enbridge's Line 5 reroute project. So they are hastily moving forward with the public hearing, which is tomorrow, and a written comment period. So we really need everyone to show up and participate in either one or both of these public input opportunities. So there is still room on the bus. You can hop on a bus from Matthiesen and get up here to Ashland tomorrow. I can put the link to sign up for the bus in the chat there. And if you can't access that, you can visit that tiny URL up on the screen. And also the public input written comment period goes through July 5th. 350 Wisconsin does have an easy form on the website ready to go. You can also access that in that guide as well for folks to be able to write to the Army Corps of Engineers and voice their concern around this project. I will also put that link in the chat too. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Brittany. So hopefully everybody can take some part in that, either in person or on written comments. Next, Julia Isaacs, the co-lead of the monthly meeting team, is going to mention an opportunity for an online eco-anxiety course.
So some of you may remember we had a great speaker, Tequila Chungialpa, who's the founder of the LOCA initiative, and she spoke to us in March, and she talked about an upcoming course, and you actually can enroll in it through edx.org. And the course starts on Monday, a week from today. Some of us, I'm going to start it in June, and I'll sort of find out how it works and be able to tell you if you all should join. But some people want to be early enrollers with me. It's free if you do it within 4 weeks. After 4 weeks, most of the material is archived, and so I think it's still free. You also can pay $49 and do it at your own pace. And so we want to find out a little bit more about it, but some of us in the art collective are going to do it sort of together with other people, and we might meet and talk about it. It's online, it's self-paced, you do it with your computer, but we thought it'd be fun to talk with each other. So if you're interested, just email me, julia.isaacs@350wisconsin.org, and I can let you know about the in-person meetings. Those will be in the Matthiesen area, I should say. I apologize to those who don't live in our area, but of course you can still do the course. Okay.
Okay, next, Kristen Clark is going to, who is our development coordinator, is going to tell us about our next fundraiser.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kristen. Nice to see you all on this evening. We are really excited to be teaming up with Ian's Pizza again this month. Mark your calendars for June 26th. That is, again, Wednesday, June 26th from 5 to 9 o'clock. Basically, you just order some delicious pizza from Ian's, whether it's pre-orders or curbside pickup. and we will also be there in person. It can be a community event to spend some time together outside on the Garber's patio. And just be sure to mention 350 Wisconsin when you place your order. And it is a really great way to support our organization and help us raise some funds to make sure we have all the resources as we are doing all this really great work together. So one more time, it's Wednesday, June 26th, 5 to 9 o'clock. Mention 350 Wisconsin as you order some delicious pizza from Ian's and enjoy a delicious night where you don't have to cook and you get to support our organization. So that's a win-win for sure.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. And lastly, of our announcements, Nikki Darga is who is our volunteer coordinator and also our administrative business administrator. She's going to tell us about our volunteer of the month.
Hello, everybody. So I get the honor to each month tell us about someone who rocks, which is pretty great. And today we are recognizing Alex Peterson. Unfortunately, he could not be here tonight, but I think we've mentioned that there may be an important election coming up. And Alex Peterson is the board president of our C4 of 350 Wisconsin Action. And so he has been our fearless leader over there. As most of you know, our C4 is only 2 years old. This is not something that we've been doing for an extended period of time. And so there was a lot of work to build up 350 Wisconsin Action into something that has become effective and impactful in our elections and providing a large amount of opportunities to volunteers to try to get out the vote as much as we can for the climate. And so he is also a lawyer by trade, so that helps as well. And not only is he our C4 board president, but he is also one of the co-leads of our state policy team on the C3 side. And so he is in charge of helping our state policy group be effective as well and, you know, be able to build policies throughout the state of Wisconsin and support those policies that promote sustainability throughout the state. So we are very, very happy to recognize Alex. This is a picture of him kayaking with his dog. And we're sorry he couldn't be here tonight, but thank you so much, Alex. He said he was going to be taking a look at the recording later. So I still want everybody to give him a round of applause if we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alex, and thank you, Nikki. We do want to tell you a little bit about the next meetings that are going to be happening this summer. On July 1, we'll be just on Zoom, so that will not be a hybrid meeting. And topic yet to come. So check your website, check your newsletter for that. On August 5th, we are going to be having our summer picnic at Brittingham Park. And that will be a little bit early. It'll start at 6 o'clock. So please bring a potluck dish to share. If you can, bring your own dishes so that we don't have to use any kind of disposables, and show up at Brittingham Park. Ride your bikes there if possible. And note that the September meeting will not be the first Monday because of Labor Day, so it will be the second Monday of the month. And with that, I'm going to pass it back to Julia to talk about the elections.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. Mariah has sent me, for the uncontested elections, everybody was elected. Congratulations. So for the board seats, the top three are Stephanie Salgado, Nada El-Makashfi, and Laura Skandura. So those people are going to be on, and Mariah, you verified that each of them got 50%, more than 50%. Oh, we have somebody who is on Zoom, obviously, who is looking at the Google things because we can't do that at the same time. Yes, those people all got 50%. So now so Kurt, I'm forgetting his name, Kimber, Kurt Kimber and Peter, you can vote for 0, 1, or 2 of them in the second round. And you do the same kind of voting as you did before. I see people still working on their phones. Of course, they could be doing Wordle or something. I don't want to rush anybody. Is there anybody in the room who needs more time to vote? I don't want to rush you. Okay. We'll give it another minute. The balloting is still open for a little bit. We had a last minute paper ballot here. Hang on one sec, Mariah. We have one more change to the paper balloting. And so you can tell me again if that's the same result. Just for transparency, Mariah has the Google form and Tom has the paper, and then she adds them together. And so. Okay, so Mariah has verified the results for me. Kurt has been elected and Peter has not. So congratulations, Kurt. We now have 4 at-large members and 4 officers, so we have 8 members of the board. Thank you for running. Thank you, everybody, for voting. I think that was the end of the meeting, right? Oh, time for breakout. So if you're a newcomer and are still here, thank you. If you're a newcomer, I think our newcomers in person left, which is okay. If you're a newcomer and are still here, Marion would like to meet you. And you go into, Susan, can you open the breakout room for newcomers? You just go into the breakout room and we're going to disconnect the audio from the Zoom because otherwise you'll hear mass chaos in here when we all start talking to each other. Thank you everyone on Zoom for coming. Thank you everyone here for coming. And thank goodness it's not raining as hard as it was at 6 o'clock when some of us arrived. Oh, John wants to say something.
Last but not least, thank you, Julia, for running this meeting.
Would anybody like any help getting into the breakout room? Rob? Thank you, Julia.